Hey, hi everyone. Um, I'm Sylvia, and I wanted to interview Kristin Mothersbaugh today because she's been telling me her stories previously about like how she became spiritual and clairvoyant, and her stories were so fascinating. I wanted to like record it so that other people could like have the opportunity to listen to all these fascinating journeys you've been on um, to get to where you're at today. So I asked Kristin if I could ask some questions, and she gladly said yes. So here we are today. Um, so Kristen, you are literally my only go-to. Um, you are just so amazing with your gift and your abilities, and um, just love the fact that like um, I don't know, your relationship to your clairvoyance and your intuitive ability is you have such a good relationship to it. And I really appreciate and admire that. And so I kind of want to ask you if we just want to dive right in. Yeah, because I feel like people already know. Or actually, do you want to just go ahead and introduce a little bit about who you are and what you do and stuff like that?
Sure. Yeah, I'll just make it brief. Hi,
Okay.
I'm Kristin. Um, and Sylvia is a good friend of mine, and she is a very talented psychic and
Oh,
healer, everything herself. So I'm really honored that she's decided to interview me. But I run Cherry Blossom Spirituality as well as the Elven Temple. I'm also an actor and filmmaker. So I have a lot of different hats, but spiritual work is one of the main themes of my life and one of the main things I do on a daily basis for myself and for others. So I do readings, healings, and I'm coming into confidence as a teacher right now in 2022 as this interview is taking place. But that's just my brief introduction. Thank you for watching and listening.
nice. All right. Well, let's just dive right in. Um, One of the first questions I want to ask you is, in your childhood, were you like aware of spirituality, or how did you grow up? Were you aware of all of this stuff or not at all? What were you like as a child?
I was a shy and awkward kid, Sylvia. I um, so I wasn't aware
Yeah.
this work being real. I was raised in the Bible Belt of Mid-America in Missouri, and I didn't grow up as a baby, like born into a Christian church, but I did start attending church in elementary school. I was around 7 or 8 years old. Um, I was always attracted to like magical fairy tales and mythology and just magic in general. I actually had like a inclination towards witchcraft and whatnot, but because of joining Christianity, I felt I couldn't delve into that.
Wait,
So I
around what age?
that was around like 7, 8, 9, and
Oh,
10.
wow.
I read a lot of fantasy books, like The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, right around like 10 or 11, yeah, and started to find that love of like going to the library and looking at mythology books and reading about fairies and stuff.
Mm.
So I wanted to believe it was all real. I was very empathic, but I didn't realize I was empathic. So I numbed myself a lot as a kid. Um, so I was quiet most of the time and had domineering personalities that I would always be paired with. And so I just was doing what I was told most of the time. But I had this internal escapism and then this like wish to connect with the divine, which then I channeled through Jesus. And when I started to believe it was real, Sylvia,
Yeah.
I was 10 years old. I went to a Bible camp. It was
Yeah.
Camp Galilee, and it was a fishing Bible camp. And now I'm a vegan, so it's pretty hilarious. But I went, I grew up on a farm, and I went to the fishing camp. and we were singing this hymn,
Mhm.
like, God is an awesome God, he reigns, or something like that.
Know that song.
Yeah. And it was like a group worship, and the community energy was so beautiful. And I felt this whoosh, like a wind, go through me of the Holy Spirit. And it was just pure love. And I could physically feel this energy move through my body. And I looked around, no one else. They were just singing, clapping. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was the only one that experienced this. And then I knew Jesus was real. And I was like, I'm saved, which is a terrible term I now realize. But at the time, I was like, this is just beautiful. So I started to talk to Jesus. And then later on, I questioned Christianity and whatnot, which we'll get to. But that was me as a child. Yeah.
Got it. So were you aware of your sensibilities or no?
Oh, no,
Oh,
no.
okay. So it was around 10, you started to become a little bit more aware of what you were feeling and kind of connecting it. Like, am I connecting to spirit?
Yes, but I didn't
Oh,
think of it as like a psychic ability,
got
Sylvia.
it.
I thought of it as, well, anyone can experience this.
Hmm.
I got really into stories about angels and whatnot around that age as well, and reading people's encounters with Jesus and with angels. And yeah, and I thought anyone could experience this.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I see. So my next question is, were you aware as a young age about like mediumship and psychics and stuff like that? And if you did, what were your thoughts back then?
I'm trying to like travel to my child, younger self. Okay, so my upbringing was not like I didn't have anyone around me that did this stuff.
Uh-huh.
Very looked down upon as fake and a fraud, like it depicted in movies and Hollywood and whatnot. And so that was my connotation,
Yeah.
that this work is not real. Uh,
Mm.
it's to swindle people. But then inside, I was like, oh, there's something, magic is real. Like I always had this like knowing that there was more than meets the eye, but I
Mhm.
didn't know who to trust to
I
find out about
see.
that. Yeah.
I see. Okay. How did you then first discover spirituality and why?
Oh, okay. Well, I categorize spirituality as like an individual faith outside of organized religion.
Yeah.
And so that's what you define it as well.
Yeah, but I also kind of thought, actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I was actually meaning like clairvoyance. How did you first discover clairvoyance? And like how did you get to that point of wanting to know more? Um, and what gravitated you towards it? Or like how did you even find yourself in that space?
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. That's
Yeah.
tied in with the spirituality, so it all is
Okay.
together. I'll try
Okay.
and be brief about it.
Okay.
So, as a teen, I questioned Christianity. And my father passed away when I was 19,
Uh,
and I was mad at God. Was like, how could you do this? Suffering 15 years of cancer and then killing
mm,
him. Like, this is just, there's no justice here. I was mad. And the Bible wasn't giving me answers. So I started to read Sylvia Brown books,
mm,
which had like a Christian foundation, but had those spiritual components of thinking outside of organized religion. So then I started to think about, oh, she's a psychic. Psychic abilities can be good,
mm,
they're not evil. And it started to
yeah.
change that paradigm, and I started to create a new foundation. And then I went on this like huge search for spiritual truth
Yeah.
and wisdom. So I started meditating and reading a lot of different books, doing yoga. Anyway, throughout the years of doing these sorts of practices, especially meditation, I started to have extra sensory abilities come in.
Wow. Wait, how
Yeah.
did you know? Was
So
it so different?
think of a specific moment.
Yeah.
Um, I remember while I was still at university for
Uh,
my acting degree, I had this urge to be psychic. I wanted to be psychic.
mm,
I think I was, but
yeah.
I bought books on it. I would hide those books from like my boyfriend at the time and my roommates because
Wait,
I laugh at them.
can
You
I
know?
pause you right there?
Yeah,
Like
with
now I'm curious and want to ask why, like, how did you even get curious with psychic abilities and all of that? Like, what caught your eye?
I think it was Sylvia Brown
Oh, okay. She talked about that.
to be like her because she was a psychic.
Oh,
And
okay.
people think she's a fraud, and she was on the Montel show, and
Oh,
apparently she made like a inaccurate prediction, and so a lot of people demonized her. But I now understand that no psychic is always 100% accurate and timelines can always shift. And I believe that even if her channelings weren't perfect, she did provide a lot of wisdom and really helped
mm,
me to spiritually awaken. So I'm very grateful for her. Um, anyway, she was sort of a role model,
got
if
it.
that makes sense. And I outgrew her work
Mm,
over the years, but I wanted to be like her in terms of being able to tap into the truth myself
mm,
instead of going to a psychic or someone else because I would go to psychics a lot and because I got really curious.
yeah.
And my first tarot reading, like I started to really believe this work as well.
Mm,
And so there are a lot of different things, but one of the moments that I think I realized, oh, I have these abilities
yeah.
were that I began to, when I would meditate, and I started a meditation practice like every morning while I was in college, no matter how late I stayed up or drank or whatever. I
Yeah.
tried to
Yeah.
be really disciplinary with myself. I started to receive like messages and premonitions just in little nudges of feeling or little images or a word in my head. And I started to understand I was connecting.
Yeah.
And so I started to try to connect with my spirit guides and I start to see and hear them more. So it was a gradual daily practice. And I worked with tarot cards as well while I was doing this, like meditating on one each day. I
Wow.
started to give readings to friends at parties and that was just reading the cards, but eventually that opening that I had created in meditation of communication with the divine came through in my readings with clients. And I started to receive images while I was also reading the cards.
Hmm.
So I had like double messages coming through, if that makes sense.
Wow. Okay, so then, wait, did you have something to say when you said you started buying books and reading about it? Was there more to it? Because I
Oh,
know kind of,
I'm trying to think if there was anything in particular. A few years after I started reading uh, different books and studying different modalities and doing readings for friends and coworkers. One of the books was How to Read the Akashic Records by Linda Howe.
hmm
I started to do the pathway prayer process,
hmm
and this was just for my own connection.
hmm
And I started to get even more clear communication. So that was like the one method that really gave me like, oh my gosh, this is not me. This is something else. Also, I wanted to add, I'm sorry, I forgot to say this,
hmm
that another visceral moment of this psychic stuff is real, like me
Yeah.
knowing it was real. Um, there were two moments. I, after my father passed, I was desperate to connect with him.
hmm
I Ouija boarded a lot with my friend or spirit board, whatever you want to call it.
hmm
And I had a visual and audible experience of a spirit coming through. It wasn't a kind spirit, but it yelled and I saw it as a dark mass. So I knew, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, this is real.
Yeah.
Oh, one night I was really missing my dad. I had just finished Sylvia Brown's Book of Dreams or something like that. And I was focused on the part of the book where you can contact your loved ones
Yeah.
and get messages in dream time. And that night, I was sleeping in my dad's spot in the bed next to my mom, actually, because she was still grieving and missing my father. So I was still living with her at the time and trying to comfort her. And while I was sleeping, in my dream, I saw my father, and
Oh,
he was
wow.
like this, like
Yeah.
eyes closed, just sitting in a chair. But I got so excited to see him in my dream. I started hyperventilating and running over to him and
Wow.
hugging him. And I was so excited. And then my mom woke me up and she said, "Oh my gosh, are you okay? You're breathing like crazy."
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh my gosh, I just saw dad."
Wow.
I went back to the Sylvia Brown book to understand why did he have closed eyes?
Yeah.
Why did he speak to me? Because he had showed up in my mom's dreams as well, but to me, he showed up differently. And I had like
Mhm.
really been begging and thinking of like, please, dad, come in my dream. And I came to the conclusion after reading Sylvia Brown's books that he was still healing. It
Mhm.
was still soon enough after his death, and he had suffered so much that he was incubating in like a healing hospital basically on the other side.
I
And
see.
and he heard my call and was able to kind of still show himself in my dream. And
Yeah.
that it was so real and it hit
Yeah.
me so deeply. It was beautiful.
Yeah. Deep chills.
Yeah.
Wow. That's beautiful.
And I stopped Ouija boarding after that, like, because I
Um,
realized, oh, I can just
yeah.
contact
I mean,
him.
I've never done Ouija board before, but that thing is, I mean, I've heard so many stories and it's like really powerful and like, yeah, it just calls in all kinds of spirits.
Yeah, it's a neutral tool that I think you just have to be mindful with your intention and say a
Yeah.
protective prayer if you're going to use something like that. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't. So they're open
Gotcha.
to whatever. Yeah.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
did you have a pretty good time accepting and having the confidence when you did receive messages and like visuals and stuff like that? Or did it take you some time to like build that confidence, that trust and all of
Oh, great question. Yeah,
that?
I definitely had imposter syndrome. I still deal with it today,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, but it's very small now
Yeah.
because I've learned to just kind of surrender over the years. But yeah, I would question my own messages,
Hmm.
get the same one over and over, and I'd start to see the signs in my waking life. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I get it, guides. I get it, my higher self. I get it, the
Yeah.
universe, God, source creator. I understand. And with clients, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, like when I would give readings when I was just starting out,
Uh-huh.
Sylvia, and people would say no.
Uh-huh.
Oh, hurt. I try not to show it, and I was pretty chill about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, if you don't agree, that's fine. And I still say that, but um, it's like I had to develop a thick skin and
Mhm.
also gain encouragement because some people are not open to receive. And I had to learn that kind of the hard way. Like, don't try to seek their approval, just
Mhm.
have messages flow through. Other
Mhm.
people are very open and they do confirm, and it does build my confidence. Not that I need their approval to build my
Yeah.
confidence, but it's good to know that these messages are actually affecting them positively
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
giving them clarity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime someone says, oh, that did happen or that really helped me, it's not an ego boost. It's more of helping me to trust my own intuition. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. So, I mean, I feel like you've encountered it so many times now where you're at today that like um it's so different than when you first started out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I had a very rough period for a while. When I first started meeting you, Sylvia,
Yeah.
around 2017, 2018, I had a knack for abusive clients that I would allow to just to diss my abilities, to say that I'm working with evil spirits when
Mm,
I didn't believe that about myself. Like, and I just took it.
wow.
Felt emotionally bruised in a lot of readings. And
Yeah.
then I had to start saying, you know what? No, I don't agree with them. I believe in my own abilities. I'm
Yeah.
going to start saying no to them and have some boundaries. And it took me a few years and it was really hard, but I did it. And I'm so glad I did.
Wow. Yeah. Because your readings are really amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Um, so then I guess looking back now into your childhood, did you actually encounter a spirit in any shape or form, but didn't realize back then you did? Did you have any one of those?
I had a very active imagination. Like I wanted to see the Tooth Fairy or Santa
Yeah.
Claus, but I never actually did. I never saw spirits, but I had this kind of inexplainable fear of extraterrestrials as a child.
Mm.
But I didn't have any memories of abduction or anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anytime my mom would turn on some alien show, it really freaked me out.
I
Uh,
see.
so no, I don't have any memories. Um, I didn't have psychic
Yeah.
experiences really start to happen, I don't think until I was an adult, like out of college, really moved to
Wow.
Los Angeles, California. That's when
Yeah.
it, like, especially when I became a healer, I got Reiki healing certified.
Yeah.
While I was working at my first shop doing this work professionally, and I started doing Reiki healings professionally.
Mhm.
It, I realized, oh my gosh, like now I have a lot coming in. I had like
Mhm.
deceased people come in during people's healings, like their deceased loved ones. I had like spirit guides come in.
Yeah.
Then it all started to really happen that way. Yeah.
Got it. Wow. Okay. So I guess, I mean, I think you and I agree that everyone has intuitive abilities. But then your human perspective did not become aware of your intuitive abilities and your clairvoyance until you were in your 20s.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Wow.
I agree with you. And yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with that I'd shut down so much of myself, my authenticity, my
Yeah.
emotional expression,
Yeah.
trust myself. Um,
I see.
Even though I had this like urge for like independence and adventure and freedom, I
Yeah.
equally also had this pattern that was really heavy in my life, to do with being in the shadow, like not being in the spotlight, not being the leader, just doing what I was told. And it has to do with my relationship with my brother, which I've healed a lot of those aspects. He didn't do this knowingly, but
Yeah.
it turned out into like a bossy
Mm.
uh, energy that I always kept attracting in my life. And so I had a hard time standing up for myself or trusting myself or even allowing in a lot of this because I was so empathically in tune with
Yeah.
that were rude to me and I felt a lot of pain all the time and I just shut it down. So I shut down
Mhm.
my abilities, I think, a lot of my
Yeah.
childhood.
I
Yeah.
believe that. Wow. What a huge transformation then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So then what were well, I guess you kind of answered this, like what was your first encounter with clairvoyance? Like what came through first? Because I know there's many different types. I don't even know the names of all of them.
Oh, I can give a
But
brief down of the different
yeah.
abilities.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Clairvoyance is the sight.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing something in your third eye
Yeah.
that is from your brain. You did not conjure it with your imagination. It's like it feels like a telepathic picture being sent, like a movie.
Yeah.
Um, so that's clairvoyance. Clairaudience is hearing, sometimes literally hearing a
Mm-hmm.
voice, but a lot of the times it's telepathic, like words or just hearing the voice inside your head. Clairsentience is feeling, and
Mm-hmm.
as an empath, this is another big one for me. Uh, just feeling, and I know for you as well, Sylvia, with the
Yeah. Yeah.
like, feeling into the client's emotional state.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or whatever it may be, whatever they're going through. And then claircognizance, this is one that is a little weaker in me
Mhm.
on, but I have clairvoyance, clairaudience, and clairsentience pretty strong. But
Mhm.
claircognizance is an innate sense of knowing
Mhm. Mhm.
what's going to happen. You just know what has happened, what's going on. I'm still, I think, building my confidence to that level of
Mm.
knowing. Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
When I started to do this work as a professional,
Yeah.
I would draw cards and then ask, like in my head, are there any messages for the client?
Yeah.
And I would get an image of, like, say, an animal or something, and
Yeah.
just started to say it, even if I was nervous, and
Mhm.
it made sense to the person. And so then more and more started coming in. So it was like over
Wow.
time, not like a specific moment. The
Yeah.
same with hearing. I would start to just hear some, like, a word,
Yeah.
and it would, like, come through really strong. Like, one client, I was drawing cards for her, and this was one of my first moments of clairaudience.
Mm.
I heard therapy really loud.
Wow.
Told her
Wow. That's really
going to
cool.
therapy, and it
Yeah.
felt like it was from my right ear, which
Yeah.
my guide is in my left ear, but this might have been one of her guides, or something
Got
like.
it.
Sure, I wasn't aware at the time.
Yeah.
And so I told her, and she was like, no. And then she was like, I didn't even choose to, and now I'm in therapy. Like, my
Wow.
very interesting. Clairvoyance, a moment that really helped me to solidify my confidence, was a
Yeah.
story I told the other day
Yeah.
that this was also at the first shop that I worked at in Los Angeles. I sat down, as I was just saying I did before at the readings, drawing the cards, and then ask, is there anything for this client,
Yeah.
before we turned the cards over and started the reading. And for this client, I got Mickey Mouse symbol, like the Disney Mickey Mouse symbol. And honestly, I questioned it. I was like, she's not a child, she's an adult. I was like, I don't know, she's gonna think I'm crazy. But then I got this urge to just go ahead and say it.
Yeah.
I said, I know this is weird, which is usually how I start these messages.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm seeing Mickey Mouse ears, like a Mickey Mouse head. Does Disney mean something to you?
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then she lifted up her sleeve of her shirt, and
Yeah.
literally had the same Mickey Mouse head symbol on her arm, and she said, I'm an animator.
Wow.
I
Wow.
known. And that was
Yeah.
my guides wanting me to know, like, this is a
Yeah.
clear channel, like, you are receiving clear messages. And I think it's important to question, because we never know if we're tainting the
Yeah. Yeah.
messages. Um, but I think they were like, okay, stop questioning so much and start to
Mhm.
trust more. And then it just built, like, going in the Akashic records and starting to talk to my dad more there, and seeing him, and also my main spirit guide, Lush, getting to know him more over the years,
Yeah.
and different goddesses and different deities that I've worked with, which I look at as all parts of God Source Creator, the
Yeah.
one. So it's really cool, like, starting to explore all of that. Like,
Mhm.
was in my 20s doing this work for the first time, and really realizing, oh, this is real, even though it maybe seems like it's in my imagination, feeling all of these things. It's actually happening, just not in a physical plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. That's really awesome. Yeah. And the bravery too, like to share it and to say it out loud. And
Oh my
like,
gosh, thank you.
yeah, and totally, yeah, I totally understand like how crazy it must have sounded to you when you're not like used to receiving messages like that, and all of a sudden you actually see it. But I'm so glad you did, because look at the confirmation you got.
Yeah, it's really rewarding work.
Yeah.
It's more about how it can help the client, of course, but sometimes the client doesn't have any recognition of anything in the reading, and then later on it clicks for them and they'll tell
Yeah.
me. So, like, I have to learn to trust, even if in the moment they're giving me this disgusted look. I
Yeah.
have to trust that, okay, whatever's coming through is coming through for a reason. And I always state it's for their best and highest good, only harm to none, good to all, just so there's no energy that flows through that could be detrimental to their
Mhm.
spiritual growth, you know? Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. So is this how you got fascinated by it all and then started delving it into more and then becoming it full time as what you do as a job, or how did you venture into
Yeah.
that full time?
Well, I do think everyone can do this work,
Hmm.
but I started to realize after um, starting to, while I was still in college, giving friends readings and them giving me readings,
Uh-huh.
I started to realize I took it very seriously, like meditating on a card every day to get to know it, like, and
Yeah.
really giving a reading with so much more passion than other people. There were friends that definitely were passionate and really skilled. I'm not trying to say that there
Yeah.
weren't, but some of them I realized didn't have the interest.
Mm,
And so I realized, oh, I have like a special knack for this
mm,
work. And I felt the pull to it. And even though I had insecurities, I felt like the soul pull to do
yeah.
this. And I hated being a waitress and a customer service. I've had like 50 jobs. Like, I hate
Mm,
working like normal 3D jobs. Like, it just sucks my soul. I'm just not one of those people that can handle it for long, which is why I kept changing jobs, because my soul always felt like it was dying in these
yeah.
normal jobs, trying to support my acting career, just working a normal job as a waitress or something. It just basically, I just wasn't cut out for that work. I tried to be
Yeah.
so happy all the time doing
Mm,
that work, but inside I was dying.
mm,
So I'd put on a smile and then just be dying inside. And other people, they could be fine and happy doing that work. So I
yeah.
started to realize, oh, I'm built a little bit differently and I'm having this pull that other people aren't having. I know it's scary, and like basically, I didn't have any support from my family. My brother at the time thought I was talking to demons. My mom thought I could never make a living doing this kind of work, was not supportive of me even starting my own business. Like, I just was going into the dark. And my boyfriend at the time was like questioning, like, can you even like pay your bills on this? And maybe you shouldn't fully leave those day jobs. Maybe you should just stay part-time. Like, I had all of this doubt surrounding me.
Yeah.
I felt like if I don't make this jump and do this work as at least to get out of the soul sucking day jobs,
Yeah.
I'm going to like really be severely depressed, or like I could feel that I could really go into this really dark place. So I I just jumped in head first, which is kind of how I approach challenges in my own life or fears. I just jump in despite my insecurities. So
Wow.
that's what I did with this work. And then I realized, oh, I'm a natural. Oh, this is like,
Yeah.
oh, I can do this all the time. Yes, it can get really exhausting. That's for sure, especially when you're trying to learn boundaries. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. As a people pleaser, it's like you want to make people happy, and not everyone's happy. That comes through in your services. But I learned to trust and enjoy just being present and channeling whatever needed to be channeled at the time. And honestly, leaving the shops and starting my own business
Yeah.
was really empowering. And I'm still working on the confidence and the productivity and the consistency with working my own businesses. But I'm one of those people that I like to be my own boss.
Yeah.
I love to collaborate with other people.
Mhm.
I want to do my own thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it suits me well. Maybe not for everyone, but for me, yes. Does that
So
answer?
glad. Yeah. I'm so glad you like followed and found your own flow. You know?
Thank you.
And yeah, and just keep growing and expanding and yeah, it's really nice to see and hear. Um well, okay, so I know in our conversation you said um my intuitive abilities didn't really come through, or you said like I didn't notice it because it was so like closed off for you to even tap into it, let's if and to be aware of it per se. Um, so now I'm thinking, oh, a person can shut it off or turn it on. And obviously, uh, you found to turn it on. And I see that your intuitive abilities just keeps growing and growing and growing. So I'm assuming with like all mediumships and all like psychics, you can really expand your abilities and grow it. Is that true? Do you agree?
Oh, I do. I think it has to do with your free will, your choice, and your
Yeah.
willingness to keep expanding.
Hmm.
And if you don't decide to, that's fine. I think for me, I really like touching that bit of the unknown.
Yeah.
I I like that mystery. So that's why I keep kind of hitting the edge and going
Yeah.
farther. And you too, I think. I think
Yeah.
we're
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
but some people are happy in a comfort zone. That's fine.
That's fine. Yeah.
I totally agree with you though. Yeah.
So then how do you keep in shape so that your intuitive abilities and what you do is sharp and like um I don't know what words you would use. Like basically to keep in shape so that you know that your abilities are always like clear and sharp to and ready to give messages and stuff like that. Like, do you do any
Uh,
rituals or what do you do?
this is a great question, and it's something I think a lot of people don't realize.
Hmm.
When someone starts to do this work uh, deeply, whether it's professionally or not,
Yeah.
there is, oh, how do I say it? There's an understanding if you are a cloudy vessel or not. And
Oh,
there's a discernment that starts to happen. And I've been both, right? Like I felt super clear some shifts or
yeah.
some days, and then really cloudy others. So that's when developing that workout routine or whatever you want to call it to stay in shape is really beneficial. For me, meditation is like I don't even meditate as much anymore as I used to,
Mhm.
but it's still always a go-to for me if I
Oh,
ever need to clear, if I feel myself weighed down, if I
uh,
feel myself going into this space of worry or tension or restriction
yeah.
and confusion or fear, then I know that it's going to cloud someone's messages. And that's the last thing I want, or the healing energy too, as a healing conduit, as a vessel. Like I want to be a clear vessel for messages and for healing and teaching and all of that
Hmm.
to the best of my ability. It's like a responsibility.
Yeah.
So it becomes a responsibility when you start to do this work. At least for me, I could feel it like, oh, I need to do more self care.
Yeah.
I can do my work at this level of integrity that is very high that I uphold for myself.
Yeah.
I have messed up over the years, but it was all a learning process. Just in little like slip ups of realizing, oh, I could have been more tip top shape and maybe that would have flowed through more smoothly, that kind of thing.
I see.
And so rituals that I do spell work.
Mhm.
Um, I like to do smudging. I like to do candle spells. I love to go into the Akashic records and ask for healing there from
Mhm.
my master's teachers, loved ones. I like to ask angels and fairies and my extraterrestrials for healing. So I'm
Yeah.
constantly in contact with beings of the other realms.
Yeah.
Um, and also, I always do my best to be in contact with my higher self and my parts within me, try
Yeah.
to create coherence and just alignment. Um, so, what else? I like to take hikes. I like to be in nature a lot. Nature is one of those things that has always, so I grew up on a farm and I would always like to take walks in the woods, in the field, or near our pond.
Yeah.
like ever since before I can remember, I loved doing that. And I think it's because it really does cleanse and heal uh, in a way where you just are just present in it and you don't have to do anything and it just takes care of the work for you. It's so
Yeah.
refreshing and grounding too. I've had an issue with grounding a lot of my life. Now as an adult, like I'm really coming into this understanding of anchoring in the higher vibrational energies into my physical body and into my life and living more authentically that way. So it's a daily practice.
Yeah.
As you know, as a facilitator of similar work,
Yeah.
usually when a client comes into your life with a certain issue, there's something reflecting for you as well.
Yep. Yep.
So that is part of the keeping in shape is not ignoring the messages that are coming through just through
Everything.
attraction for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah. And it makes sense. I agree with you. Like your mind, body, spirit, everything, like your physical, your mental, your emotional, they all have to be like, I feel like if it's in a healthier, clean, peaceful state, the clearer their message is when you're just feeling. But you know what? Like I've had times where like I even had to check in with you. Like, I don't know if I'm really having the energy to like
Okay.
channel or whatnot.
Mhm.
And then sometimes like you would say, no, no, it's good. They're saying you can go ahead and, like receive messages. And so I'm still kind of learning, um, like with myself, um, to know the difference kind of. But I can tell when I'm in a very like balanced state, then yeah, the messages are there. But when I don't know. I don't know. I'm still kind of playing around with it to like kind of figure that out for myself. But I can definitely agree with you. Like self-care is so huge because it does take it's like you're the generator and you are the vessel, and it does take energy away by the time you're done, right? Like channeling or receiving messages.
Yeah, even if you are energized from a service, there's also still energy being output. So
Yeah.
it can be draining in a way a lot of people don't understand,
Mm.
where your mind can feel like mud. Do you know that feeling of like, I don't think I have any clarity here?
Mm.
That's when you're like tapped out.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. In the beginning, I didn't know, and I would just keep going and going and going. It's only after I would come out of the state, I'd be like, whoa, I can't, like, I have to go lay down.
Exactly. So, like eating well and taking
Mhm.
vitamins and getting sleep and not abusing substances too
Yeah.
much for your body, like all of that, of course, is sound
Yeah.
advice to care for yourself. Yeah.
So, out of all of your clairvoyance, which one is your favorite?
Oh, the clairs, right?
Yes,
I love
yes.
the clairs. Mine would be clairvoyance, which is,
Oh,
I think, probably why you said clairvoyance,
I agree.
because I'm just a very visual person.
Mhm.
I'm a filmmaker. I like to work with video in my spiritual work and acting. It's like I'm just very visual, and being able to see whether it's a spirit guide or a message, it helps me to believe it and to feel more comforted. Because
Mm,
if I only heard, I would think they're trying to hide something,
mm.
and if I
Yeah.
only felt, I would be confused. But
Mhm.
for some reason, the sights is what makes it more concrete and solid of a message. And so that's my favorite.
That's really cool. So, are you able to do that with your eyes open, or do you close your eyes to receive that visual?
Usually I close my eyes.
Mhm.
I have seen things with my physical eyes a couple of times. I see
Wow.
fairies as little light orbs.
Hmm.
And I've seen a couple of spirits, like ghosts, but for the most part, it's all in my third eye. And so closing the eyes, kind of like in meditation,
Yeah.
really helps to um, just tune in and kind of drown out everything else and be able to really see that in it.
Wow. That's really cool.
And
Okay.
most of the time I can trust it because it feels random. And I'm like, I did not think of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really amazing. Yeah, that's something that I would like to open up more within myself too, because I think it's just so fun to be clairvoyant. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all of this, Kristen.
You're
Um,
welcome.
just your journey, it's just been so amazing because every time I would hear about mediums or like people who are, I don't know, I feel like mediumship, psychic, abil like someone who calls themselves a psychic, they're all the same thing, right? Like I don't, or they're just like different names to say the same thing.
They are, and they might be different specialties or areas of
Yeah,
focus, but using the same extrasensory psychic abilities. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Because yeah. Wait, what was I gonna say? Um, oh yeah, because I would hear a lot of them say, "Oh, I was born with it. I had it since I was a kid. No one could
Mhm.
understand me." So it's so lovely to hear, like, no, I didn't, wasn't aware of it. I discovered it in my 20s, and then it just kind of blew up where your abilities is so amazing. And so at first, when I first met you, it was hard for me when you said, no, I wasn't aware of this in earlier days of my life because you're just so good at what you do. And so actually that kind of gave me motivation to even think for myself, like, oh my God, if she can do it and she thought she never had it, I wonder if I have.
Oh,
Yeah.
I hear that.
Exactly. So, and you've always just been helping me. Um, like grow that within me, which I so appreciate. And I learned so much through. And you've been just such a wonderful facilitator for me in helping me grow this ability in me. So,
You. And
yeah,
likewise.
thank you. Yeah. So it's just really lovely to hear how you came all this way. And I'm so thankful you did. I'm so glad you found this path, and I'm looking forward to like many more years of like growing with you. And yeah,
Thank,
it's really nice to have as a friend who's like such a gifted clairvoyant. Yeah.
thank you, Sylvia. Thank
Yeah.
you. And yeah, just to add a little bit, um, kind of put a button on this interview.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, age doesn't matter.
Yep.
And I started to do this work at shops when I was younger than everyone else, and
Mhm.
it got me really insecure.
Mm.
I was like a 20 something year old, and these were all like 40-year-olds doing this
Oh.
work. And um, it doesn't matter because it's just being a vessel.
Mhm.
Realize that. And also, yeah, it can be learned and honed in whatever way. Like, I think anyone can uh, choose what kind of psychic abilities they would like, even though they may think, oh, it's just naturally my makeup to not be clairvoyant or something.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think that you actually do have the power of God source creator within to really state with your free will, like, this is what I want.
Mhm.
And to ask your team of divine beings, of helpers, to assist in that manifestation. It may take some work, it may take some time, but it doesn't mean it's not doable. So I encourage anyone watching this that, you know, yeah, you don't have to be born with this stuff, and it can come
Totally.
at any time.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's all about self-care and believing in yourself, really.
exactly.
So I'm looking forward to, yeah, growing and um, yeah, our friendship and our relationship, Sylvia, is so special. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited for it to continue as well. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I guess this is a wrap up, and I really liked what we discussed or what you shared with us today. And I guess we'll do this another time with a different topic.
Sounds good. Thank you, Sylvia.
Okay,
Thanks, everyone.
bye.
Bye.